What's good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Today we've got some awesome topics for you guys, so let's go ahead and get right into it. And we're starting out with a potential tease for Astral Chain 2 on Twitter from Hideki Kamiya himself. Shout outs to everybody who linked this to me on Twitter and everything that's going down there. It's pretty crazy because Hideki Kamiya has been known for saying crazy things on Twitter. Obviously, he makes the your mom jokes. He blocks a lot of people. There's a lot of stuff that he says on there. And it's interesting that he would just randomly put on a Saturday, Astral Chain 2, just out of nowhere. And it just seems, especially after considering how Astral Chain 1 was a huge success on the Switch. Now, it's not as big of a success as I would like it to be, but when it comes to what Nintendo and Platinum Games thinks, they said that it was successful, and Nintendo announced officially that it sold over 1.06 or 07 million units as of last year. They said that. So we haven't gotten updated sales numbers as of this year, and there's been a lot of positive word of mouth when it comes to Astral Chain. You haven't seen the game getting fat discounts in stores, so it's not like they're just piling up and they're not selling. People are steadily and slowly but surely catching on to how great Astral Chain is. And they talked about Astral Chain potentially wanting to do more. So Tura-san, who did the Nier Automata game, he was the director for this one here, of course, with Hideki Kamiya being a little bit of an oversight and everything. And I know that Astral Chain is an IP that Platinum Games has ownership of. And Platinum, for the past 3 to 4 years, has been hell-bent on making sure that they can get some type of ownership or self-publishing of games. Because a lot of times they'll make a game for another company, and that company will pretty much reap a lot of the benefits of owning that IP, whereas they're left with nothing and constantly having to look for a game here to make or look for somewhere there to make. Whereas if they actually own the IP, or at least own some of it, they do have some type of say in terms of that IP, how much they make off of it, and what's going down with it. So that's why I think that Astral Chain 2, or the Astral Chain IP, is very important to Hideki Kamiya and Platinum Games, because they have a joint ownership with Nintendo. They have a 50%. Nintendo owns 50 and Platinum Games owns 50. So it'd be really cool if we actually saw another Astral Chain game. Now, the game just came out last year, and if you've played Astral Chain, you know how big and expansive and crazy that game is. It's not a game that you can just pump out a sequel in like a year or a year and a half. It would actually take a serious amount of time and work in order to get a game of that scale ready to go. Unless they were working on it like right after Astral Chain 1 finished, which I highly doubt they were, then there's no way that we're going to see this game anytime soon, as in within the next year. What I do think, though, within like 2022, maybe at the end of 2021 or 2022, we actually get some rumblings about an Astral Chain 2. Maybe there's a debut CG trailer or a new trailer for the game, and maybe there's something in like 2023 or something like that, or maybe the end of 2022, because the last time that we got Astral Chain, they just announced it in February of 2019 and it released later that year. I think it was August, September, it released later that year. So they want to make sure that they surprise players with the announcement and with the release. They don't want players to wait a long time after the game is first shown off, which in my opinion was a very, very, very smart move on their end, because you don't need to sit there and wait for 2-3 years for a new IP from Platinum Games. Just show it off when it's ready to go and then release it, especially if it's a new IP. Now, if it's something established, you can obviously get away with that, right? Like something like Bayonetta, which they're not even really getting away with it. People really want to see Bayonetta, but it's more, I would just say, it's more acceptable at that point, right? We've seen it with games like The Witcher. We've seen it with lots of other IPs that are already established, and it takes forever. But with the new IP, you definitely just want to make sure that you get it announced and then it comes out sometime recently, so people aren't waiting and waiting and waiting for it. Now, obviously, Astral Chain 2 wouldn't be a new IP, right? Because it's based off of Astral Chain 1, but at the same time, it still, I think, takes that same flavor, right? That same style. It's still something that would be new to a lot of other people out there, because it's not like Astral Chain sold like Super Mario Odyssey or Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. It didn't sell like tens of millions of copies or anything like that. It sold over 1 million copies. So there's still a lot more people that need to check out this franchise, need to check out this game, because it really is super good. It was definitely not a sleeper hit, but it was definitely one of those hits on the Switch that more people need to play, because it really is that good. So if you're complaining about not having any games to play or not having any first party games, go back and buy Astral Chain. A lot of you guys didn't, so go pick up that game. It's extremely good, especially if you love action games. So what are you guys' thoughts on what Hideki Kamiya had to say on Twitter? I'd love to hear them in the comment section below. All right, and moving on to the next topic here, we have something that's not so surprising considering how well Horizon Zero Dawn sold on Steam, but Sony has officially announced that they will continue to invest in or acquire companies in addition to expanding their first party titles to PC. So Sony Interactive Entertainment will continue to invest or acquire firms with abundant creativity and cutting edge technology to build up its worldwide studios, as well as explore expanding their first party titles to the PC platform. Now, this was according to Sony Corporation's newly published 2020 corporate report, and it's very interesting that they said this, but I wanted to get into a little bit of what they had to say with basically acquiring new studios and building to their first party studios. As of May 31st, 2020, WWS owns 14 studios and has become one of the world's leading game developer networks, with hit series like The Last of Us, God of War, and Uncharted. It is a strong engine for content IP production. Third-party titles, meaning IP developed by game software developers outside the Sony group, also play an important role in indirectly enhancing the appeal of the PlayStation platform and its user community. Sony offers various forms of assistance, such as sharing its libraries and providing technical support to creators, including independent studios to facilitate the best game development environment possible. Now, getting to the part to where Sony talks about the PC platform. SIE aims to achieve robust revenue growth by accelerating the virtuous cycle that has been established for the PlayStation platform. This entails increasing active users and playtime, enhancing network services, and reinforcing content IP so that consumers select PlayStation as their platform of choice. Targeted outcomes include growth in active users, stronger retention, and shorter cash conversion cycle, from which expanded cash flow can be expected. We will explore expanding our first-party titles to the PC platform in order to promote further growth in our profitability. And they also talked about the PlayStation 5 and having a true jump in next generation and investing in that, which we've already seen them do a bit with announcing Horizon Zero Dawn. We also have Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart and Miles Morales. So Sony's always been strong on making sure that they have those big first-party titles, and that is an indicator for them to make you guys go out there and buy their system. Very similar to how Nintendo really promotes their first-party games in order to get people to buy their system. Now, the most interesting thing that they said out of all of this was the fact that they're going to continue exploring and investing into the PC market with their first-party titles. Obviously, Horizon Zero Dawn did very well on PC. People went out there and bought it. Wasn't the best conversion at this point, but I think that they're actually making patches and updates to it. But they probably made millions of dollars off of that, because it was like $10 or something like that on the PlayStation 4. So they weren't really making much revenue off of that game at this point. So they put it on PC and it was like, what, $50 or something like that? So they charged nearly a full price for it, and people went out there and bought it because of the enhanced graphics and because of the 60 frames per second or getting better frame rates and resolution. So if they continue to invest into that and actually get better performance or whatever the case is out of older titles, they don't have to release all their new titles day and date, which I don't think they will, because they want to have the appeal of PlayStation. But if they release older stuff, like let's say like Killzone 3 or Shadowfall or some of their older IP that were already released on PlayStation 3 or PlayStation 4, there's really no harm in that, in my opinion at least, and it brings in way more revenue so they can reinvest into first-party titles. So to me, it makes sense, just like it makes sense for Nintendo to go into smartphone gaming with Fire Emblem, and they can use that to reinvest into new games. Or it makes sense for Microsoft to do PC and to do Xbox, so they can reinvest and do their Game Pass stuff. So it's all about getting extra revenue where it makes sense and making sure that it doesn't really harm your core business in terms of what you want consumers to actually get, which in Sony's case would be the PlayStation 5. And I don't really think having old PlayStation 4 or even PlayStation 3 titles officially released on PC will harm what they're doing with PlayStation 5. So to me, it makes complete sense. But what are you guys' thoughts on this? I'd love to hear in the comment section below. All right, and moving on to the final topic here, guys. The Kickstarter campaign for Eiyuden series spiritual successor Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes has closed at a staggering $4,571,418 funded. Wow, what a huge closing fund for the game. That's 895% of its initial goal of $510,735. It's one of the most successful Kickstarter games ever made, or ever funded, more like it. Now, over the course of its 33-day campaign, the following stretch goals and additional in-game content were achieved. As you guys can see, I'll put up a list here, guys. Fortress Town, consoles, cooking minigame, new game plus, which is very important. I'm glad that they actually got that in there. New sound effects, Chinese localization, guild system, fishing minigames, different types of characters, party conversations, all sorts of stuff. They got localizations for Russian. They've got flag design modes, another story with more characters, a farm system, duel system, card battle system, ranking, Heart of Gold, origin story, the depths. I mean, there's just so much stuff here. And also, at the 4.5 million mark, they actually got a companion game, A Quiet Place, being made as well. So a lot of stuff here, man, and I'm happy for them, but I'm also a little bit, I would just say, skeptical about how the progress of this game is going to go. Like, I'm cautiously optimistic, not skeptical, cautiously optimistic on how everything is going to go. Now, I've actually backed Kickstarter games before, and every single game that I backed, there's always something that just kind of irks me at the end of the game, and not with the game itself, but just how it's handled, right? Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night, how they handled the Switch version of the game. Also look at a game like Temtem, how it was handled. At this point, we still need to wait and see for the Switch version when that comes out, and for the console versions as well. The Wonderful 101, how that was handled on the Switch too. So there's always something here or there. So I'm cautiously optimistic that this game will go smoothly, and there's always the big question mark. Is it coming to Switch? Is it coming to the next generation Switch? It's still in limbo because they're going to take another 2 to 3 years to make this game, and we don't know where Nintendo's going to be at this point. And they're already kind of like, well, we're not sure if it's on Switch. Yeah, we'll make it. It's going to be tough because of the resolution and the assets. So it's already telling me, oh my gosh, man, like if there is a Switch version, a regular Switch, and not a Switch successor version, they're going to make excuses for it not to be as good, or for there to be issues, or for there to be something, right? So we'll have to wait and see on this one. I'm happy for them, but I'm cautiously optimistic that things will work out on all the platforms it's intended for. So what are you guys' thoughts on all the different topics here, guys? I would love to hear what you have to say in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Check out the links in the description. We've got Twitter. Go and give us a follow on there. Stay up to date on all latest gaming news and information. Also, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video if you can. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you for the next one. Peace.